This is talking about high school social studies. What I have in my hands is American history. So high school social studies is just fascinating. There's world history in those. I don't have a copy of that in front of me, but they draw a map in each one. They turn in the map to you. In the test, they have to pick out locations on the map, which is really, really good. I've been really impressed with this curriculum and what they require of the kids. So, for example, American history, you open it up to page 1. And if you've been doing this curriculum for a while, this will be normal to you. They have what you learn about. They read this to you, so you kind of have an idea of what they're going to learn in the page. There's a verse that they're going to memorize and say to you as they go through the page. Page 2 has some vocab. I don't know if you can see it, but it has vocab. It's not very much in these pages. A lot of the words the kids already know. But I go ahead and have them say this to me. I give them the word, they tell me the definition. The words that they have in there are not words that are part of our normal vocab. There's a lot of reading in these, pages and pages of reading, and then they'll come to a page where they fill out using the information that they have. It's a little bit like literature, but with less reading and more spots to fill in. At the end of each section, they have a score strip, and that's when your student's supposed to score. It keeps them from getting behind or letting the scoring pile up. Then you'll come to a checkup, and the checkup is like in all subjects. It's where they do it without looking back. So they've scored everything, they've turned it in. I always check their work after them, so before they get to the checkup, they have to turn it in to me, and I have to score everything beforehand. Just looking over and seeing, making sure that they're doing their very best when they score it. When they circle the bottom of that page with a red pen, they're saying, I have given my very best, and to the best of my ability, this is correct. That doesn't mean that it won't have a spelling mistake or something that they overlooked, but I just follow up with that to make sure that they don't ever get just lackadaisical with it, and that they're always giving it their best, or they know that they're gonna get caught. So on the checkup, they fill this out by themselves without looking back. So it's kind of just a test over this is the first 20 pages, to make sure that they're getting it. And if they fail this, then you know, okay, they're not getting it. Let's go back, let's make sure we're reading, let's make sure we're giving it our all and doing a really good job. Before they take the checkup, they say the verse to you, and then they have to write it from memory with the scripture verse. It just says write the page scripture and reference from memory. So that's up to them to have memorized it. There's something in each of these pages that they memorize. In this one, it's a Gettysburg Address. And it's in here, when you get to the self-test, it'll say don't forget to go back and memorize the Gettysburg Address. And then they have to go back and they have to say it to you. And that has to be done before you take the test. So that is really cool. I've been really impressed with what my students have gotten out of memorizing these, and also what I've gotten out of memorizing it. So it's not short. You could break it up in paragraphs if the student needs that. I have them say the whole thing. My students are perfectly capable of saying the whole thing, and it gives them a sense of accomplishment when they do say the whole thing, because a lot of times they didn't know they could memorize that much. But it's pretty big font. It's not that bad, and it's something that they're gonna reference the rest of their life. 70 years ago, our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. Something that we all know just from being Americans. His speech at Gettysburg was not a long one. Something that I enjoy doing with my kids on the summers is we listen to Story of the World on CD. Story of the World is a curriculum. I don't use the curriculum. It comes in books. Those I think my kids would really enjoy, but we just have access to the CDs right now. So I use the CDs, and we listen to them when we're on family vacation. It goes through, it's not a religious CD, so you learn some about Mormons and Buddhists and Christians and all the different religions as you go through, and it talks about how they started and what people think of them, and what the people said they saw, angel, whatever. It's very, very interesting, very educational, and doesn't take sides. They start with the Greek gods and start talking about those tales and weave that in, and then it talks about creation, and then it goes through everything. And we just pop those in the car, and the kids, even my son, when he was, he was like 4 or 5, he'd be like, can we turn it on again? Can we turn it on again? So they're really fascinating, really well written. The guy that reads it is just, he does different voices. It's really excellent. That's called Story of the World. I'll try to put a link below so you guys can check that out. It's really good. But that's just a brief overview. American history. Reminder again, the self-test is, or the PACE test. The final test is in the middle of the PACE. You have to take that out before you give the student the test. So it comes out, you just kind of pull it out from the staples, and then you keep that, give the student the PACE, and when they're all done, you take the PACE away and you give them the test, and then that kind of gives an overview. In high school, the way ACE does it is it's at 85% or above. For high school, for younger grades, it's 90% or above, and that's passing. You get to decide for your school. I will tell you that that set me up for great success when I went to university. I expected to get an A out of every single class because that's the only thing I had been allowed to get up to high school. And B was just devastating because that was like the lowest grade I was allowed to get. So it just really seemed to do a really good job of setting me up in the mindset that I knew I could get really high grades, and I expected that out of myself. So it's for you to choose what you want to do in your school, but there's one option of a way to do it.